Hello all, welcome to third video in this series. So before we actually start this video, let us quickly recap what we have done in our previous video. So we have completed the Google PubSub walkthrough. We have created a topic and we also created a sample subscription. We have pushed sample message to a topic and also uh, checked whether the subscription has received this message, and also we have acknowledged the message as well, right? And yeah, so we also created a Google service account, GCP service account, and given the access to PubSub admin role, correct? Perfect. So yeah, having said that, in this video, we are going to start our Pega configurations. Okay, and again, the detailed configuration were documented at Pega documentation. Let's quickly follow the documentation and configure the required things. Now coming to the configuration steps, we have two things over here. One is security configuration, under which we have to create a key store to store the private key, and then token profile to generate the JWT token in order to receive the bearer token, and then authentication profile, which orchestrates this entire authentication process. And then finally, to do the PubSub integration, we have to create a PubSub dataset. All right. Yeah. So this is how we are going to start our configuration process. So post that we will create a use case. Basically, we will do the real-time ingestion of the user activity data from that particular Google PubSub via Google PubSub dataset. Yeah, we will see this once our security and PubSub integration is completed. Yeah, perfect. So now let me open the documentation first. Yeah. So this is a whole set of documentation which will provide you the in-depth knowledge of how to configure the Google PubSub dataset. The first and foremost thing before we configure Google PubSub dataset is to create an OR 2.0 profile with a JWT bearer. So we have to follow this document to configure the security rules. Okay, we have done the same for Google BigQuery integration as well. So if you are already having that particular configuration with you, then no need to do all this configuration. Yeah, since I'm using Academy instances for the demo, so I have lost that particular configuration. So I want to show that entire configuration again to you. Okay, perfect. So you remember in our last video, we have generated a key in our service account, right? I hope you have that particular key and also you have that password as well. Perfect. So now, how I'm using my Academy instances. Again, I'm going to the Decisioning Consultant latest course 24.2. And then here we have always on outbound customer engagement mission. In this mission, I will be picking up the last challenge and yeah, let it get loaded. Basically, the last challenge is this one. So sharing action details with a third-party email service provider. Yeah, I will show you. It is loaded here. You can see this is the challenge I will be loading, and I'm initiating an instance in this particular challenge. So once you launch the Pega instance, it will open this enablement window wherein you have to open this Pega Infinity portal. And you have to log in with the credentials which were displayed in this particular challenge, which is a decisioning architect and rules. Okay. If you are having local instance, yeah, feel free to use that particular instance for BigQuery or Google PubSub integration. Yeah. So in order to navigate to Dev Studio, first let me navigate to Prediction Studio from the intelligence menu item over here, and let me navigate to Dev Studio. Yeah. Now let me change the default portal of my current access group to developer rather than the customer decision hub, so that whenever we refresh it, it will only open the developer portal. Okay, let me save it and let us refresh it. You can see here it is showing back to customer decision hub, but when I refresh it, it will default open the Dev Studio. All right. Perfect. So now let us configure all the security related rules. Coming to the security related rules, we have to configure three things. One is key store instance, second one is token profile, and then finally the third one is authentication OAuth 2.0 profile. Okay, all right. So yeah, since I know all the steps, I will be go ahead and configuring all of them without following the document line by line. So first of all, let us create a key store. So in order to create a key store, go to create a security and then select a key store. Basically, key store is a data instance which is used to store the private key. Okay, basically you will store the key and that key will be used for authentication purposes. Okay, and yeah, so Pega GCP access. Okay, just create and open. I can give another good name as well, maybe Pega GCP private key. Okay, let me give a good name. So go to the security key store GCP underscore private key. Okay, yeah, this is the app name for this. Now the key store location, yeah, there are n number of options which were given by Pega, but I will be selecting upload option because I have downloaded the P12 format of the key from my service account. So let me upload my P12 file. Okay, this is a private key. Now the key store type we have to provide PKCS12 and in the key store password you have to provide the password which has been shown to you when you downloaded this particular key. So I am entering my password. Okay. So once you enter your password, click on save. Okay. And let me associate this data instance with my application root. Perfect. Okay, now the second thing what we have to do, we have to create a token profile. Okay, so we have to create a token profile. Basically, the token profile is used to generate a JWT token, which will be sent to token endpoint to receive the bearer token, and that bearer token will be used by PubSub dataset to access the actual resource, which is PubSub. Yeah. Now let's go ahead and create a token profile. So yeah, very simple steps. Create security token profile. Okay. Yeah, we are going to use JSON web token. Purpose is generation because we are going to generate. When you will select processing, because if you select processing, then when you receive that JWT token from other system which is trying to access resources inside Pega, then at that time we will process that JWT token. But for now we will use generation purpose because we are going to generate a JWT key to send it to to send it to GCP to get the bearer token. Okay. Now in the name, let me provide maybe GCP JWT. All right, just create and open. So maybe I will take a separate video to explain you what is this JSON Web Token, what is this authentication, authorization, what are the different types of open authorization methods, etc. We will discuss in a separate videos. Yeah. In the JSON Web Token, we have to configure headers, claims, and also the security. Okay. So in the headers, first I have to provide the key ID. Okay. We have generated a key. Okay. So we have to provide the ID of that particular key. How we will get the ID of the key? So go to your service account and this is my generated key, right? Okay. So it will have the key ID. So copy this key ID and here provide the value in the map from key section. Now in the claims, in the registered claims, here we have to provide issuer and also we have to provide subject. Audience is not required for this particular Google PubSub and also the BigQuery. If you are integrating with Google Cloud Storage, at that time audience is required. Now in the map from field, here I will select a constant. Now in the issuer and subject, we have to provide the email account associated with that particular service account. So for every service account, an email account will be provided. So this is my email account which is associated with this service account. So just provide those values over here. Okay. Now in the custom claims, we have to select the scope. Okay. And in the map from, we have to select a constant. So here, what value we have to provide? You have to go to the documentation, scroll down in the token profile. If you scroll down, in the 14th step, you can see if you are configuring the authentication for Google BigQuery or Google PubSub, you have to select this URL. You have to paste this URL. Yeah. So that means the scope of this particular token will be with this particular URL or cloud platform. If it is Google Cloud Storage, then it will be googleapis.com auth dev storage.full control. This is the scope. Okay. All right. Now in the security configuration, so here we will be selecting algorithm RS256. And what is a private key? So we have already have our private key, GCP private key. And yeah, this is a private key. We have to select it as a private key and it has a password, right? So I'm entering my password. Okay. Yeah. Now if I scroll down, so here we have token lifetime. So let me give the value 3600. This is being provided in the documentation. I'm following the same. Yeah. So now, yeah, I am associating this data instance with my application rule set again. So yeah, now we have also configured the token profile. Now what is the next step? So we have to configure OAuth 2.0 authentication profile. Okay. So how to do that? Create security OAuth 2.0, right? So here we have to select authentication profile. Okay. And in the type, we have to select OAuth 2.0. Okay. And then let me write something like this, GCP OAuth. Same will be the description and create and open. Yeah. So now in the client configuration, you have to select Google and the grant type will be JWT bearer. Okay. And in the client identifier, okay, so you have to provide the unique ID of your service account. Okay, if you open your service account in the details tab, you will have unique ID. Just copy this unique ID and provide in the client identifier section. And no need to use any client secret because in our case, the client secret will be the bearer token, which will be received once our JWT token is processed by token endpoint, right? So that is why I'm not providing the client secret. If you are using the client credentials OAuth 2.0 grant type, then we'll provide both client ID and client secret, but for now it is not required. Yeah. Now, yeah. So in the JWT assertion, we use JWT generation profile. Okay. Because we are generating the JWT token on our own by using our token profile. Suppose if we want to use the same JWT token, which is present in your active SSO session, we can go with this. But yeah, we don't have that. I will go with use JWT generation profile. I have already created this, right? GCP JWT. All right. Now in the endpoint configuration, yeah, we have to, no need to change this. This is the token endpoint URL to which our JWT token first will be passed, and this particular token endpoint will provide us the bearer token. That bearer token will be sent as a client secret, okay, in the basic method as an authorization header with a security protocol following TLS version 1.2. Okay, so that means whenever our Google Cloud PubSub dataset tries to access that resource, it will be sending the client secret as the bearer token, which will be received, okay, from the token endpoint. All right. So now let me change it to my application rule set. Okay. My security configuration is now completed. Now let me go back to my presentation. Okay. And then next configuration is PubSub integration. We have to create a PubSub dataset. But before we actually create a PubSub dataset, okay, let us understand the use case. So the use case is user activity data model and a real-time processing. We have to basically ingest the data from the topic in real time. Okay. So how to, how to orchestrate that? I have provided the steps over here. Let's create a data type for user activity data with the following fields and configure a table source for it. Basically, we want to create a data type in which these fields has to be there, and we have to configure a database a table data set for it. Okay. We have to create database table and data set. The fields are namely customer ID, device type, page, total time, event description. If you keenly observe, these are the fields which we have used in our JSON message. Okay, yesterday, in our previous video, we have seen this particular message has been published to your topic, and then the sample subscription received this particular topic. We are going to use the same data model. Okay. Basically, we will not use the spaces because the Pega properties will not have the spaces, right? Even though we have the spaces, we can map through the JSON data transform, which we will be discussing very soon. Okay, fine. Now, yeah, let's create a DB table dataset in the user activity class itself. And now let's create a PubSub dataset in the same class. Okay. And let's create a data flow and have the source as PubSub dataset and destination as a DB table dataset. Now run this data flow as a real-time instance and publish few messages to the topic manually and observe the processing of this real-time data flow. Yeah, this is the use case which we are going to develop. Okay. So for that, what we have to do, we have to create a data type. So add a data type, and the data type name is user activity data, and simply click on submit. The data type gets created. Once it is created, we will add all these fields. Yeah, it takes some time to do the rule assembly, right? So that is why it is taking some time. Yeah. Okay. So now that our data type is ready, let's quickly add the required fields. Okay. We need a customer ID. So I'm not going to create the customer ID because that will be present in the inheritance itself. So let me start with a device type. Device type, page, okay, and the total time, okay, and then event and event description. You can add the spaces to the labels. Anyways, the property will be created without spaces only. Okay, now let us configure a database table. Okay, go to the records, configure source. So here I'm going to add the customer ID. So I will have this customer ID as my key. Okay. So customer ID and okay, maybe if I oh okay, so I will use the customer ID and also maybe the event. Okay, I think we should not use the event. Maybe we can use something called event time or something. But yeah, so if I use the customer ID as my key, then Okay, maybe what I will do is I will not have any key over here. Okay, so maybe let's do one thing. Let me close this, open the class record. Okay, and so here I will select the automatically generate a unique ID for the records of this type and click on save. Okay, now once it is saved, come back to the data type and refresh. Right. So once we refresh this data type, click on configure source. I think it takes some time to refresh. Yeah. So click on configure source. Now you can see, yeah, PYGUID is automatically selected, and let me add the customer ID, which will be present in our data hyphen class. I will be using that. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. Now let me click on submit. So now we have created a database table source for this data type, and the next step is to create a database table dataset and also a PubSub dataset. Okay, so click on close. All right, so now let me create a dataset in this user activity data class. Let me copy this class, create data model dataset. Okay, and in the applies to class I will provide user activity data. Okay, and this is gonna be a database table dataset. So user activity data underscore db, create and open. Yeah, by default it will show us the key of the class, which is pyguid. Okay, all right. Okay, now our next step is to create a PubSub dataset. So go to create data model and data set. So here in the type, select Google. Okay, in the streaming, select the Google PubSub. Okay, and in the apply to class, provide the same user activity data. So here I will be writing user activity data underscore PubSub. Okay, create and open. Okay, once you create and open, you have to configure a few settings in this Google PubSub. First of all, we have to select authentication profile. So we have already created something called GCP OAuth. We will select the same authentication profile. And in the topic, we can have two options. One is single topic name. If we select this option, we can hard code the topic name. Suppose if the topic names are different for each and every environment, then we will use application settings with the topic name, so that we will use specific topic name for each production level. Yeah, for now I'm going to select this single topic name, and in the topic name, you have to provide the fully qualified name of the topic. So go to the topics, okay, go to our PubSub service, go to the topic and copy this topic name, and go to Pega PubSub dataset and provide this topic name. And you can click on the test connectivity. So you can see that connection is established successfully. Okay, now if I go to the topics and open this particular topic, right? Okay, so there are no subscriptions, right? In our previous video, we have deleted a subscription. Why? Because we have told that So Pega will automatically create a subscription on its own. Okay, let us see how it is going to create. Now in the next section, we have to configure the data format. So here in our case, we can select custom or JSON. I will be selecting JSON. Okay. And here in the field mapping, we have two things: automatically map fields or use the data transform. Like most of you know what is a JSON data transform, right? JSON data transform is generally used to do that serialization or deserialization. Serialization is nothing but converting the Pega clipboard structure to JSON, whereas deserialization is converting the JSON to clipboard structure. Okay. In our case, if we are using this data set as a subscriber, then we can use this deserialization feature of the JSON data transform. So why we have to use the data transform even though we have automatically mapped fields? So it is not always that the Google PubSub message will have the Pega defined properties, right? They can also have some symbols, for example, dollar at the rate. But in Pega, we cannot create properties with whatever the character we want. At that time, we can use the JSON data transform to map the required fields from the JSON attribute to our fields. Okay. Yeah, so you can search for this particular JSON data transform. I think there are many videos in the YouTube. Otherwise, I will plan for creating a JSON data transform video as well. Okay, perfect. But we are going to use automatically map fields itself. Okay, now next comes the very important thing called as subscription properties. Okay, so in our earlier video, when we created a subscription, it asked for few settings or few properties, right? Correct. So, but now we have deleted that subscription. We are not going to use that subscription. By saying that Pega only creates subscription of its own, correct? But if Pega is going to create a subscription, it has also provide those some settings, right? Okay, so those settings you have to configure over here. One is message retention duration. It is default 7 days. I'm not going to change it. Okay. And retain acknowledged messages. Okay. In our previous video, we have acknowledged a message, and also we have discussed that we can also retain those acknowledged message for the 7 days. Okay. So if we want to retain those, we have to select this checkbox, but I don't want to retain them. Okay, and acknowledgement deadline is a 10 seconds. That means Pega, whenever receives the message and processes it, it will send the acknowledgement to the GCP again. That should happen within 10 seconds. Okay, and coming to the retry strategy, suppose if the message delivered to the subscription is failed, then it will try to retry with the help of back of time. Okay, so back of time in the sense that its minimum is 10 seconds, maximum is 600 seconds. Suppose if subscription is failed to receive a message, then after 10 seconds, so the message will be available for consume. So even after 10 seconds, if that is failed, right, it will increase to 20 or 30 seconds, exponentially up to 600 seconds. So why this is because we are waiting until that particular subscription system is up and running. Okay, perfect. And here we have also have a section called custom attributes. So custom attributes are nothing but yesterday when I mean in our previous session, whenever we are publishing a message, we have seen something called custom attributes, right? Yeah. Those custom attributes can be used as a subscription filters. That means only a particular subscription can receive those custom attributes. If you want to consume those custom attributes inside Pega, then you have to map them. But I'm not going to add any custom attribute. Maybe let's discuss this in a while. But for now, let us push a message to this particular GCP topic and see whether our PubSub dataset is actually receiving them or not. So simply click on save. Okay. All right. So our PubSub dataset is actually ready now. Now let me go to my uh, user activity topic. Okay. Go to this topic and go to the messages and publish a message. So in the message body, we have to provide a message, right? Let me copy a message like this and paste it over here. So let me remove the spaces between the attributes. Okay. All right. So customer ID, device type, page, total time, event, and event description. So here you can see we have something called message attributes. Here we can add attributes. Okay. So these attributes can be consumed by Pega. Okay. Under custom attribute section. Maybe let's add an attribute called customer type. Okay. So customer type, and in the value, let us provide something called gold. Okay. But in order for Pega to consume this customer type, we need to have a property created. Correct. So let me go to our data type, go to the data model and add a field called customer type and click on submit. And if you go to the records, let us also add this customer type in this particular table. Okay. I have clicked on refresh. I think it takes some time to refresh this entire data type. Yeah, the refresh is in process. Yeah, the customer type is now added to the table directly by Pega whenever I have updated this data model. Okay, awesome. So now what happens when we send this customer type? Okay, so whenever the PubSub dataset receives this data, okay, so here we have to add an attribute mapping, right? Okay, so here we have to add the custom attributes which are being sent to this particular subscription. So in our case, it is customer type. So Pega will search for this property in the primary class. In our case, the primary class is user activity data. So once this attribute is present, it will merge this particular attribute onto the page. Okay. So here we are the message which will be receiving as part of JSON that will be a single page, right? For example, let us say it can be single page or multiple page. In our case, it is a single page. In that particular page, this attribute will be copied. Okay. Now in the property, let me select customer type. All right, let me click on save and check in. All right. So our data set is ready now. Let me go ahead and publish this message. Okay, I have published this message. Let me go to the subscriptions and let us see, do we have any subscriptions so far? No, right? So, but why did Pega did not create any subscription yet? Yeah. So let me run this particular user activity PubSub data set. It will go ahead and create a subscription with the specified properties. So yeah, a PubSub dataset will have two operations. One is browse. This is for pulling the messages. Save is to publish the messages to the topic. So let me click on browse and click on run. Okay, there are no items. Let me go to the subscription and let me refresh if you are having any subscriptions created by Pega. Okay, you can see that there are subscriptions created. There is a subscription. Okay, and we have also published a message to this, but unfortunately or somehow the data is not present in this particular subscription. Okay, so we'll push the message to that particular topic again if we didn't receive the message. So yeah, one of the reason might be we have created the subscription very after publishing the message to the topic, might be that is the core reason, right? So what we will do, we will publish the message again. So yeah, So this is the message, and we are going to add the message attributes. So here I'm going to add customer type. So here I'm going to add as gold. And let me go ahead and publish this message now. Okay. Now message has been published. Now let me browse this data set. It should receive the message now. Awesome. See, now you can see that the message has been received. Earlier, why it didn't receive the message? Because we have created the subscription later. Okay. So prior to the creation of our subscription, we have published the message. You can clearly see that the customer type attribute has been merged to this particular message. Okay. So even though that is received as a separate attribute, that has been merged. Awesome. So you have received every property now. Now, what are the next steps we have to do? So we have to create a real-time data flow, okay, to ingest the real-time data from this Google PubSub dataset. So let me go ahead and create a data flow. So user activity data ingestion. And in the apply to class, I will be providing user activity data class and go ahead and create and open. So in this data flow, I will provide the source as my Google Cloud PubSub dataset, and in the destination, we are going to add our database table dataset. Okay, so double click on the source and select the dataset. So here, let us select PubSub as our source and click on submit. And in the user activity data, let us select the dataset. In our case, it is user activity data DB. So here, insert new and overwrite existing records. I'm selecting that. So click on save and then run this particular data flow as real-time instance. Okay, so in the service instance name, by default, the real-time has been selected. Just click on run. Now this real-time data flow will be monitored by Pega. Okay, so you can see that this is initializing now. In few minutes, it will be up and running. Okay, now it is in progress. The dataset has one message, right? So Pega has to process this one message. You can see that within a very short span of time, it has processed one message. Now, if I go to my data type, you should be able to see this message in here. If the message is processed successfully without any errors. Let me refresh this. Yeah, it will take some time to reload the data type. Okay. So what we can do, maybe we can browse this data set in order to fetch the data. But yeah, no operation is working until the refresh of this data type is completed. Any other operations will not work, I guess. Okay. Yeah, now it is refreshed. Okay, unfortunately, we don't have any data over here, but let us check if we are having any failures. Yeah, we have a failure. I believe the failure is related to the PYGU ID. Okay, so but let me quickly check what is the failure is. So let me open the view details. Yeah. So I feel this is related to PYGU ID as null value. Yeah, you can see that PYGU ID is having null value in here. That is the reason. Okay. Yeah. So initially I thought that Pega will be generating this PYGU ID, but I have to generate it manually. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me add a convert shape. Okay, double click on this convert shape. So in the class, we will provide the same class and we will auto copy all the properties and we will add PYGUID mapping to this. So here I'm going to add this as generate ID. I will use the generate ID function to generate some ID over here so that every record will have a unique ID for this. Okay, maybe I will check if we are having something called generate ID function. Generate GUID. Do we have any GUID? Okay, maybe let me check for GUID itself. Okay, so we have something called generate ID function. Okay, I will use this and I have to pass some prefix to it. Okay, so data ingestion. If I go ahead and test it, it will generate some value like this. Okay, click on submit. Submit so that I'm creating my own, what do we call, GUID in this case. Okay, so this is okay. Now let me click on stop and restart it. Before we actually restart, let me go to the PubSub dataset and see if the message is not deleted from the subscription. Because in our case, the data is actually failed, right? Okay, let's see how Pega actually handles it. If we don't have the data, then again we have to publish. Yeah, we don't have. I mean, I think Pega has sent the acknowledgement message to the subscription stating that it has processed, but ideally did not process it, right? Okay, let me click on restart and resend the message again. So I will publish the message. In the message body, I will provide the same. And so here I'm going to provide a customer type. The value is gold. Okay, publish. Now let's monitor this real-time data flow. It has to process a record now because we have published one message to the topic, right? Yeah. So one record has been processed. Let's wait for the statistics because whether the data can be success or fail, right? We don't know. Yeah. Now there are no failed records. There are successful records because we have generated the GUID prior writing to that particular data set. Okay. Now let me go to this and click on search button so that it will refresh and you can clearly see that the data has been added. So similarly, let us add another record to this and let us verify whether we are able to receive the message or not. Now I will be having the second record. Okay. And I will remove the spaces and add an attribute. Customer type is my attribute and it will be silver now. Publish this message. And let's go to this our data flow and you can clearly see that the number will be increased to 2 now. Yeah, I haven't done anything. So it just processes this message and yeah, soon we will also see the statistics over here. Okay, awesome. The two records has been successfully processed. If you go to the data type and you can see that the other record has also been loaded. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so we have created a real-time ingestion data flow. We have ingested the data from PubSub directly. Yeah, awesome. So this is the video for this use case, and in the next video, we are going to see the publishing use case wherein how Pega PubSub dataset can be published a message to a particular topic. Okay, awesome, guys. So see you in the next video. Until then, keep learning. Bye.